Our speaker today here is Fishie. He is an independent security researcher who is actively contributing to discussions about cybersecurity and data privacy. We are very excited to hear his insights on how the Maldives can strengthen its data protection framework in line with global best practices. Over to you, Fishie.
Hello everyone, I am Fishie. I am an independent security researcher, or in other terms, I like to audit all of the apps that runs on my devices. And once I started doing this, I actually realized that here in Maldives, we have a crisis. I decided to present this with one goal in mind, that you, the audience, at the end of this presentation would want to lobby for a data protection bill and have it pass. And not only that, but also realize the importance of something like this and talk about it amongst your friends, maybe even post a tweet about it. Because if we don't do it right now, in 5 years, we will be in trouble. Now, Maldives is going towards a digital world faster than our laws can keep up. We are moving government services online, fintechs are popping up, and citizens, they are sharing their personal data on the daily. But we still don't have a modern data protection law. Today, I want to discuss some of the gaps in there. I have recognized three gaps: the Stored Data Protection Bill, the GDPR compliance pressure, and the National Bug Bounty Program. And how, once we fix these three things, that we can start building digital trust. I could spend the next 10 minutes giving you a long technical explanation about why we need the data protection bill, how it would align with global standards, strengthen our digital economy, attract investments, and all that boring policy stuff. And I will do exactly that. But before that, let me show you why all of this really matters. Scam calls are at an all-time high. Everyone in this room has probably known someone who has gotten a call or was a victim to these calls. They'll call you pretending to be your bank, a government office, or even the police. They know your name, your address, sometimes even your ID. That is not a coincidence. That's data, your data, being leaked and sold. Then there are apps used by over more than like 60,000 Maldivians leaking phone numbers and location data, not in theory, but in practice. People trusted it, and it's exposed not only their name, but where their users are. And some government portals, the very systems we are told are secure, was leaking partial card data and its numbers, right, and personal info through basic coding flows. This isn't something I read about. These are things I've seen firsthand. And guess what? In every single case, users had no power. There was no breach notifications. There was no way to hold anyone accountable. In some cases, users weren't even able to delete their own account or their own data. Once you give away your data, it's gone forever. You no longer have control over it. And this isn't just a financial issue. And it's not just even about scammers. Even political parties, they're using these data to build profiles on citizens, to influence decisions, shape opinions, and yes, even impact elections. This isn't science fiction. It's happening right now. So what I'm about to talk about today isn't something we need for the future. It's something we should have had 5 years ago. We are already behind, but we can still catch up. Now that I have sensationalized it for a bit, let's get into what can actually be done. Let's talk about the data protection crisis, shall we? Based on the people I have spoken to, the data protection bill has been drafted or in the works going as far as 2012. To put that into perspective, I was a pipsqueak teenager just installing Minecraft for the first time in 2012. In 2025, we still don't have a data protection bill. Now, this bill was supposed to provide you with protection for your personal data, regulate data handling, and define consent. But instead, what we got was a stalled draft. No enforcement and no data protection authority. Right now, every government portal and private app collects personal data, but there's no legal framework requiring them to protect it. Without this, even local startups can't align with EU standards, meaning we are locking ourselves out of the global market. We need a phased rollout of the data protection bill, even if the full framework takes years, right? Basic principles like breach notification and accountability could start right now. Before we get into compliance and app stores, let's talk about what GDPR actually is and why it matters. GDPR stands for General Data Protection Regulation. It's a European law that gives people more control over their personal information like their name, ID, phone number, location, or anything that can identify them online. Think of it like this. If you give your passport copy to a hotel or sign up for an app, GDPR gives you the right to ask these questions. Why are you collecting this? How long will you keep it? Who else will see it? And can I delete it if I change my mind? For users, GDPR means more transparency and control. You also know exactly what's happening with your data. You can say no if it's too invasive. It means companies have to handle your data responsibly. If they lose it, they must report the breach. If they misuse it, they can be fined. Imagine something similar existing in Maldives. Users would finally have the power to hold apps or government portals accountable for leaking or misusing their data. Let's do a quick recap of what GDPR actually is. Transparency. You decide if your data is used. Access and deletion. You can see and delete your data. Accountability. Companies are fined if they misuse it, even though Maldives doesn't have its own data protection law yet. Global players like the EU, GDPR already affects us, especially if we publish apps and websites that handles international users. App stores like Apple's App Store and Google Play already enforces part of GDPR and other privacy laws through their own policies. Apple requires developers to submit a privacy policy URL, declare data types collected, and specify how the data is used. Google Play console now mandates data safety section, including what data is collected, if it's shared, and whether users can request deletion. So even if local developers think GDPR doesn't apply to them, they are already being held accountable by Apple and Google. Why does this matter for Maldivian apps? This means GDPR complacency isn't just a legal issue anymore. It's a business survival issue. If a Maldivian startup wants to reach international users, they must follow these global data standards or risk being delisted. As our tourism and fintech sectors depend heavily on foreign clients, especially Europeans, this complacency gap directly affects our economy. Now here's the thing, right? Hackers will always hack. You can punish one or two people, but there will always be more. The real question isn't how do we stop hacking, it's how do we make sure the people who store our data takes it seriously. That's what data protection bill is really about, accountability. If a company knows that it can be held responsible for a breach, that it should face investigations, fines, or even lawsuits, then they are forced to build a fortress around our data. Nothing motivates better security than the fear of legal consequences. And that's where the National Bug Bounty Program comes in. While the law makes companies accountable, the bounty program gives them a way to actively test and strengthen their systems. It's not about catching hackers. It's about creating an ecosystem where vulnerabilities are found and fixed before anyone can exploit them. A bug bounty program is a system where ethical hackers and security researchers can report vulnerabilities responsibly and sometimes even get rewarded for it. It turns potential threats into opportunities for improvement. Here in Maldives, the National Cybersecurity Agency recently launched an official bug bounty program, and it's a big step forward. We actually met up to discuss how they could implement it in practice. And even though there is no financial rewards yet, it's solving one of the biggest issues that I personally had when I started in cybersecurity, trying to disclose bugs responsibly and not being taken seriously. And I was also having issues where they would start treating me like a criminal as well. But now, with a bug bounty platform, there's finally a government-backed process that handles this responsibly, so I don't have to run around trying to contact company owners about the bugs in their platform. I can just report to the government and then they can handle it. This is more than just a form for reporting bugs. It's about building trust between ethical hackers, private companies, and government institutions. The program already issues a certificate for bugs reported, even though the bounty doesn't really pay money. It pays in something important, which I find to be legitimacy. It gives ethical hackers a seat at the table. And that's the foundation for a secure, collaborative digital economy. But a foundation is just a start. I hope that this platform matures in the coming years and is able to provide financial incentives as well, because bugs are worth a lot of money and there are a lot of buyers for it. If there's one thing I hope you take away from today's presentation, is that data protection is not a luxury, it is a necessity. Our nation is moving very fast into the digital age. Like I said, government services are going online. Apps and startups are booming. And everyday citizens are trusting apps with everything from their name, their phone number, their birthday, and their location data. But while technology has moved forward, our laws and our mindset has not caught up. The data protection bill isn't just another piece of paperwork. It's about accountability, about saying that if you collect people's data, you are responsible for protecting it. What will truly protect our data is when companies know that their negligence has consequences, that if they don't conduct proper audits or if they ignore security warnings, the blame will fall on them. And that is what global frameworks like GDPR understood years ago. The fear of accountability drives better security than any firewall ever could. And that global standard is already shaping us whether we realize it or not. App stores, international clients, and tourism platforms already enforces parts of these privacy laws. So Maldivian developers can no longer afford to say, we will just deal with it later. Compliance has become a business survival issue, not just a legal one. If we want to compete internationally, we have to play by international rules. The GDPR may be a European law, but its spirit, transparency, consent, and control is universal. Those are values we should embed into our digital culture from the start. But legal frameworks and compliance alone isn't enough. We also need to open the door to collaboration, and that's where National Bug Bounty Program comes in. It gives research a safe government-backed channel to disclose bugs responsibly. There may not be money involved yet, but it gives legitimacy to this line of work. The data protection bill creates accountability. The bug bounty program builds collaboration. Together, they create trust, and trust is the foundation of every digital economy. If citizens don't trust that their data is safe, they won't use online services. If foreign investors don't trust our systems, they won't build here. Trust isn't built by promising security, it's built by proving it. So, as we look forward, this is our opportunity to set a standard. We don't have to copy Europe or wait for global pressure. We can build a uniquely Maldivian framework, one that protects our people, empowers our innovators, and respects the value of data as a national asset. Because data isn't just numbers on a server, it's our citizens, it's our economy, it's our identity. And if we protect that properly, we can turn Maldives into a model for digital trust in the Indian Ocean region. The message is simple. We don't need to fear technology. We just need to hold those who control it accountable and give those who protect it a platform to contribute. If we can do that, we won't just catch up with the digital world, we will help define what a secure digital nation looks like.